Deal or no deal? Iran is continuing to keep the entire world guessing about what its next strategic move could be. America's Gulf allies now appear to be scrambling desperately to stop Iran from economically bleeding the region through Hormuz pressure tactics. The United Arab Emirates is now seemingly urging Iran to bow to Donald Trump's demands and fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Explosive new details from a reportedly secret Iran-US draft agreement have now emerged, raising questions over whether the leak was deliberate. America's key Arab ally has now revealed what could be a major breakthrough in the high-stakes negotiations surrounding Iran. A senior UAE official claimed that Washington and Tehran are now moving increasingly closer toward a possible agreement. The remarks specifically referred to the tense negotiations surrounding the reopening of the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. Anwar Gargash claimed there is currently a 50-50 possibility that the United States and Iran could strike a deal over the waterway. The close aide to Mohammed bin Zayed made the remarks while speaking during the Globsec forum held in Prague. Reports suggest the United Arab Emirates remains deeply concerned that Iran's continued defiance could stall negotiations indefinitely. The senior Abu Dhabi official also warned that Tehran should avoid overplaying its leverage during the ongoing talks with Washington. Abu Dhabi further demanded that Iran restore the Strait of Hormuz to its pre-war operational status without restrictions. The UAE presidential advisor said, and I quote, "Iran missed a lot of chances over the years because there's a tendency to overestimate their cards. I hope they don't do that this time. Negotiations just to reach a ceasefire and sow the seeds for further conflict in the future is not what we're seeking. And I think that the Strait of Hormuz clearly has to go back to the status quo, and this should be an international waterway. The Iranian nuclear program was our second or third worry. Now it's our first worry. We see that Iran is capable of using any weapon that it has in its hands, which is what we learned." End quote. Reports regarding a possible draft agreement between Iran and the United States were also allegedly leaked by a Saudi media outlet. Saudi-based news outlet Al Arabiya has claimed that it obtained what it describes as the final draft of a potential agreement between Washington and Tehran, though the authenticity of the document has not been independently verified. The reported draft is said to have been facilitated through mediation efforts by Pakistan, as tensions between the United States and Iran continue to intensify across multiple regional flashpoints. According to the report, the draft agreement primarily focuses on establishing ceasefire conditions, offering potential sanctions relief, and promoting broader regional stability between the two adversaries. The document is said to include provisions calling for a complete halt to military operations on all sides, along with an end to what it describes as an escalating media and information war. Another reported clause emphasizes respect for Iran's sovereignty, while also calling for strict non-interference in the country's internal political and domestic affairs by external actors. The agreement also reportedly seeks to guarantee freedom of navigation across key maritime routes, including the Persian Gulf and the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. The draft reportedly calls for an immediate, comprehensive, and unconditional ceasefire across all domains of conflict, including land, sea, and air operations without exception. Both sides are said to agree under the draft not to target any military installations, civilian populations, or critical economic infrastructure during the period of de-escalation. The proposed terms also include a complete end to active military operations, alongside a simultaneous halt to what is described as an ongoing media and propaganda war. The agreement emphasizes mutual commitments to respect sovereignty, territorial integrity, and a strict policy of non-interference in each other's internal affairs. It also includes guarantees ensuring freedom of navigation across key waterways such as the Arabian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, and the Gulf of Oman. A joint monitoring mechanism is reportedly proposed to oversee implementation of the agreement and to resolve any disputes that may arise between the parties. The draft suggests that negotiations on unresolved or outstanding issues would begin within 7 days of the agreement being put into effect. It also outlines a phased approach to lifting US sanctions, conditional on Iran's continued compliance with the agreed terms. The document is said to reaffirm both parties' commitment to international law and the principles outlined in the United Nations Charter. Once formally announced by both Washington and Tehran, the agreement would reportedly take effect immediately without further delay. The report further states that negotiations addressing remaining or outstanding issues between the two sides are expected to begin within 7 days of the initial agreement framework. Under the reported framework, the United States would begin a gradual process of lifting sanctions, provided that Iran fully adheres to the terms outlined in the agreement. However, the draft reportedly does not contain any explicit references to Iran's nuclear program or its missile capabilities, raising questions about the scope of the proposed deal. According to reporting cited by the Times of Israel, There is no clause in the document addressing Iran's stockpile of uranium enriched to 60% levels. The reported draft also appears to omit any restrictions or limitations on Iran's ballistic missile program, despite its significance in previous negotiations. Additionally, the leaked document reportedly makes no reference to Iran's support for regional proxy groups, which has long been a central concern for US policymakers. Al Arabiya also reports that the agreement could potentially be announced within hours, although it is still described as pending final approval from both sides. If finalized, the deal is expected to come into force immediately once it is formally and jointly announced by both the United States and Iran. As of now, neither Washington nor Tehran has made any official public announcement confirming the existence or finalization of such an agreement. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's top diplomat has once again repeated demands for Iran to abandon its proposed Hormuz toll system.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you to this great country for hosting us. They've been phenomenal hosts. They've been great new members of NATO's, really model allies and great hosts. So it's a pleasure to be here. And it's always great to see you, Mark. And obviously, we're here to set the groundwork for what I think will be probably one of the more important leaders summit in the history of NATO. The president's views, frankly, disappointment at some of our NATO allies and their response to our operations in the Middle East are well documented. That will have to be addressed. It won't be solved or addressed today. That's something for the leaders level to discuss. In the meantime, there are other areas where we continue with cooperation. You saw the president's announcement last night with regards to Poland and deployment. That said, obviously the United States continues to have global commitments that it needs to meet in terms of our force deployment, and that constantly requires us to re-examine where we put troops. And this is not a punitive thing. It's just something that's ongoing, and it was pre-existing, all these recent reports and tensions and so forth. So that's a process that will continue, that I think in a very positive and productive way, and collaboration with our allies can reach decisions. But in the end, you know, like any alliance, it has to be good for everyone who's involved. It has to be a clear understanding of what the expectations are. And so certainly we'll try to lay the groundwork for that. One of the areas where I think we definitely can cooperate on is the defense industrial base. It is clear to the world, to all of us in the alliance and beyond, that we simply are not able to produce munitions today at a rate that are necessary for future needs. That's something that has to be addressed. That's something that we can work together on. That's something we want to work together on. I think it's key not just to production, but to interoperability. And so I imagine that'll be a topic of conversation. On the issue of Iran, the news this morning, I know it's early it's still in the United States, a little later in the region, in the Middle East. But we await word on those conversations that are ongoing. There's been some slight progress. I don't want to exaggerate it, but there's been a little bit of movement, and that's good. The fundamentals remain the same. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. It just cannot. This regime can never have nuclear weapons. And to achieve that, we're going to have to address the issue of enrichment. We're going to have to address the issue of the highly enriched uranium. And then added to this, of course, is the issue of the Straits. Iran is trying to create a tolling system. They're trying to convince Oman, by the way, to join them in this tolling system in an international waterway. There is not a country in the world that should accept that. I don't know of a country in the world that's in favor of it except Iran, but there's no country in the world that should accept it. Right now at the United Nations, we have a resolution that is sponsored by Bahrain. We've been very involved with it. It has the highest number of co-sponsors of any resolution ever before the Security Council. Unfortunately, a couple of countries on the Security Council are thinking about vetoing it. That would be lamentable. We are doing everything we can, though, to achieve the sort of global consensus that's necessary to prevent this from happening. And we're trying to use the United Nations. Let's see if the United Nations still works. That's a place that we're going to try to get an outcome for. And obviously, I think almost every country represented here today has signed on as a co-sponsor of that resolution. And if they haven't, I'm sure they soon will. Because I don't know of anyone in the world that should be in favor of a tolling system in an international waterway. That's just not acceptable. It can't happen. If that were to happen in the Straits of Hormuz, it will happen in 5 other places around the world. Why would countries all over the world say, well, we want to do this too? Not to mention how vital and critical that strait is to every country represented here today, but frankly to countries not represented here today, particularly the Indo-Pacific. So we'll have a good meeting today. I hope it'll be productive. I expect it will be, and it'll set the groundwork for the leaders to meet in about 6 weeks. And we have a lot of work to do between now and then.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Trump made fresh remarks on the Strait of Hormuz as tensions with Iran continue to escalate. The US president said Washington opposes any effort to impose tolls on ships crossing Hormuz. His comments came amid reports that Iran was discussing a formal toll arrangement with Oman. According to Bloomberg, Such a system could cement Tehran's long-term control over maritime traffic in Hormuz. Trump also claimed Iran was facing mounting financial losses due to reduced shipping activity in the region.
Iran is negotiating with Oman to set up a formalization of charging tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. Is that acceptable to you?
Well, we're looking at it. We hear about it. They've negotiated. They've had a relationship with them before. And we'll see. We have total control of the Strait of Hormuz, as you know, with our blockade. The blockade's been 100% effective. Nobody's been able to get through. It's like a steel wall. It's our Navy. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. We wiped out their Navy. We not wiped out their air. I think they're down to about, I would say we knocked out 85% of their missile capacity. It's very hard for them now to build missiles, to build drones. We have great drone technology, anti-drone technology now that, frankly, we didn't have even 2 months ago. We have unbelievable drone technology, both for making them and also for knocking them down. But look, we're going to either make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon, or we're going to have to do something very drastic. And the people of the country, I believe when it's put to the people of our country, they will all agree that we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
How do you want things to end up? Let me just one follow-up on that. How do you want things to end up with the Strait of Hormuz, though? Would you like them to have control of that?
We want it free. We don't want tolls. It's international. It's an international waterway. They're not charging tolls. Right now, they are losing $500 million a day is what it's projected. I don't know, it sounds like a lot of money, but whether it's 500 or 200 or 300, they're losing a lot of money. There hasn't been a ship that's been able to get through without our approval. And the Navy has done an amazing job. And no ship is going to Iran, as you know. No ship is going to, or out of Iran without our approval. We have total control of the Strait of Hormuz, as you know, with our blockade. The blockade's been 100% effective. Nobody's been able to get through. It's like a steel wall. It's our Navy. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. We wiped out their Navy. We not wiped out their air. I think they're down to about, I would say we knocked out 85% of their missile capacity. It's very hard for them now to build missiles, to build drones. We have great drone technology, anti-drone technology now that, frankly, we didn't have even 2 months ago. We have unbelievable drone technology, both for making them and also for knocking them down. But look, we're going to either make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon, or we're going to have to do something very drastic.